Sure. Okay. I'm a faithful believer in Christ. I struggled my entire life with alcohol, drugs. My name's Jason.
Jason.
Let's see if I can do this without getting emotional here. Anyhow, I was born in Santa Cruz, California, in the morning of September 5th, 1968. My mother, Sharon, she was 19 years old, doing everything on her own. My father had left to work for a rock band, which I don't blame him. He went to work for Jerry Garcia, and he worked for him for a dozen years. My mother remarried 2 years later, and my life of dysfunction started. I was the oldest of 7 kids. Is there any tissue in there? My nose is gonna go.
Of
course it is.
Okay.
Okay, go on.
Sorry about that. My nose is right now.
It's the time of the season, buddy.
I guess, okay. Alcohol was how our family coped for almost everything. We got sick, they gave us a shot of Jack, helped us sleep. We got alcohol. It was just always around. I would sneak drinks all the time. Between the age of 8 and 10 years old, I was already sneaking a lot of drinks, opening beers for my parents and their friends and their biker buddies and, backwash and all that good stuff. But anyhow, I moved out of the house at, let's see, I think I lost myself already. Okay, it was tough for me as a child. I had a severe stuttering problem. I didn't talk much because my stepdad, he teased me and people would tease me. So, I, learned how to fight then. And so I started hanging out with some of the rough crowd. That's how I got accepted. So anyhow, I moved out of the house at 17 years old because of the abuse of my stepfather and alcoholism in the house. I couldn't finish high school because I had to take care of myself, but I did get my GED, and it wasn't easy. I moved to California and stayed with my grandmother, my father's mother. She paid my tuition to go to trade school. When I was there, I also worked on top of going to school. When I was 19 years old, my dad reached out to me. So I never really met him, but he had been in a car accident, and he broke his back, so he was wheelchair bound. My grandmother talked me into giving him a second chance anyhow, and so I actually let him come up and stay with me for 2 weeks at my house in the Bay Area, and that's when it was revealed to me that he was not a good person. I found him in the bathroom with a needle in his arm. I kicked him out of the house. My grandmother cut him off completely. She was financially helping him. My grandmother was quite well off. So she cut him off. And a week later, he killed himself. Happened to be on my birthday. Anyhow, I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but anyhow. At 19, I was also married. My first wife, Teresa. However, this marriage didn't last very long. She was addicted to painkillers also. I wasn't aware of that. Anyhow, with my drinking and all that, that didn't work out. I ended up having an affair, and then we divorced. At 21 years old, I got into a car accident myself. The truck was totaled. I got hit by a vehicle that was doing between 40 and 45 miles an hour. Didn't even leave the skid mark. I was internally bleeding. I had a broken neck. They got me to the ER. The nurses were saying I was going to make it to the night. They were pumping ice water down my stomach. And anyhow, I said, yeah, I'm going to make this. And I did. They ended up removing my left lung. My stomach just got pushed into my esophagus, and it tore a main artery in there. C5 and 6 were broken in my neck that they weren't sure what they're gonna do with it because there were just cracks at that point. They said they were gonna wait till it got worse, which it did eventually. I was in ICU for 2 weeks, in the hospital a month, and that's when my drug addiction started. After I moved back to Alaska, I got a job working back with the company I was working for. I worked for Cars as a bakery deli manager and a head baker there. Worked there 17 years, made excellent money. And I ended up leaving there. I went to work for Providence Hospital for years, there, baker. Then I took a job up in Nome, moved up there. I took a job at the Department of Corrections as a kitchen steward. I worked in the prison, and actually it wasn't really work. I just had to watch the inmates work. It was quite boring. So anyhow, I was living up there in Nome. I was getting, I was with the fire department. My new fiance, she worked for the police department. We had strong ties to the community. I was, volunteer firemen. We were foster parents. We adopted a child. I was a functioning alcoholic. I carried that all out, 2 separate lives. I was traveling back and forth to Anchorage because I'd work a week and have a week off. And ended up meeting one of my sister's friends while I was down here. And I have a daughter, she's 19 years old. We did get married, but August 24th, up there in Nome, I was letting my dog go for a run like he did normally. And I parked off to the side of the road, had my door open, and a van was coming barreling down the road. And he just clipped along pretty good, and he lost control of the vehicle, and he hit the only thing in the whole area, which was me. Anyhow, I ended up in the hospital. They had to medevac me down to Anchorage. I spent 3 days up there while they just stabilized me. That was a fun ride down to Anchorage. So anyhow, my life has changed forever. I spent the next 6 months in bed and traction and physical therapy, and was pouring a lot of painkillers down. At that time, those doctors were handing out like candy. They were giving me 90 oxy 80s a month, fentanyl, and everything else you could think of, just enough to kill somebody. So anyhow, let's see here. Yeah, my life has changed forever since the next sentence. Okay, the insurance ended. My son's mother left me, and of course, the bank took my truck. All my creditors were knocking at the door. I didn't know what to do. I actually stuck a pistol in my mouth. Decided that wasn't the way to go. So anyhow, looking back on that day, I realized I was talking at. I didn't respond. I moved in after I was healed up a little, quite a bit there. I moved back in with my daughter's mother. We ended up getting married when Emily was 13 months old. At this point, it was impossible to go to work. I was getting disability checks, Social Security, $2,000 a month, and it was enough to get by. But I wasn't doing what I should have been doing with that money. The doctors had taken me off painkillers because I was abusing them. And I turned to street drugs. And that's when I got really ugly. Destroyed the marriage. It was mass destruction. It was horrible. 100% of my money went straight to drugs. So I was living in a drug world, no direction. I ended up messing up again. My body. I was at a drug house in Anchorage, and there was about 15, 20 people in the house, and there was pounding at the door, and there was 8 eager police officers outside didn't want to come in. I overheard what was going on, and I crawled out this little window at the back side of the house. Nobody could get through it. You wouldn't think you could. I got through it, and it was 2 stories up, and I dropped to the ground, and it was quite a ways down. Didn't think that one out. Shattered my right leg, tib, ankle. Nobody came looking for me. I was lying back there and I couldn't move. Nobody came looking for me. I thought the cops were going to show up. I crawled around to the front side of the building, dragged my leg. Had to go up to the apartment, and my phone was up there. Nobody was in the apartment. The door was open. I called 911. I didn't want it, but I was like, so anyhow, of course the cop showed up again. They harassed me a little bit, but that's all right. So anyhow, for some reason, when let's see, I lost myself completely. Mike told me to have a pen in my hand, and I didn't. At this point, I couldn't, okay, so anyhow, after I went to Providence with this broken leg, they wanted to send me to Seattle to get some grafts done, skin stuff done, and what have you, and I couldn't fathom, at this point, I couldn't fathom being away with no drugs, so I made myself a little care package. I had 90 oxys actually, and I had a half ounce of cocaine and a bunch of heroin. And for some reason, the flight had to make a stop in Juneau. I'm not sure why still, but anyhow, they made a stop in Juneau. We were there for a minute. I decided it'd be a good idea to get off the airplane. Go have a cigarette. Not a good idea. I got off the airplane, had a cigarette. Coming back up I was going through TSA, and do the little pocket check. I realized that the drugs I had on the airplane, I stuck them in my pocket. Now I had to go through security again, and I was already in line.
Oh.
I was done. I was cooked, man. I pulled up there, and they were like, "What's in your pocket?" Anyhow, I was arrested down there in Juneau. I spent a week down there. I bailed myself out and flew back to Anchorage. They couldn't, they didn't want to keep me there because my leg was a stiff edge stage, so they said, bail yourself out, go to Anchorage, take care of your leg. So I did all my court hearings. I got sentenced over the phone. The judge said he's never done a felony sentence. I was sentenced to 18 months, which wasn't enough time in prison. I just learned how to get things. I just learned a bunch of new stuff. I wanted a normal life. I tried to get help, but there was no real resources at that time like there is now. I went to the ER. I would go to the ER. I'd strung out, and I'd ask them, "What can I do to help?" And they never did anything. Last time I did it, a buddy of mine had called me when I was sitting. I told him I was turning myself into treatment or something. And he said, no. Within 10 minutes, he was there at the hospital. We were in the parking lot getting high again. I just couldn't get out of that. It was the same old lifestyle. I just flipped right back into it. So anyhow, I tried to do normal things. I did. I tried to, I was working a little bit. I got a half of an apartment in the car, and was trying to, like I said, living two separate lives. I moved up to, yeah. I quit doing cocaine and heroin, but I was stealing my pill habit by selling heroin. And this one sale I had a bad feeling that I was selling to this guy. I just didn't really know him, and he said it's really crappy feeling. And I left Anchorage. I said, no, there's something wrong, man. I got to get out of here. And it was like a week after I'd sold everything. I kept seeing cops around. I was like, hey, what's going on? So I flew out here to Wasilla, moved in with my sister, and I moved into a room. I rented a room for my sister. On Halloween night, we were in the garage drinking a couple Four Locos and smoking weed, doing some dumb stuff. And I had to go use the restroom. And I was walking to the house. It was kind of dark, and I saw a red dot on my chest. I thought, what the? And pow, he shot me. But I lifted my arm up, and it kind of didn't get a good contact on me. And I pulled the one prong out, and the trooper jumped into the windowsill. And I fought my whole life. I'd been picked on, so I thought this guy was picking on me. I ran over and I drug him to the window. The scissor locked him. He was out cold. 2 other state troopers kicked in the front door. My sister laid on me. They were gonna kill me, but they didn't. Anyhow, I was arraigned on, I was arrested on 3 counts of felony assault on officers. 2 on the arresting on state troopers, 1 verbal assault on my sister, and 9 misdemeanors. After being in jail for a week, I was arraigned on court for sales of heroin, Class A felony. I had sold heroin to an undercover trap. That was that feeling I had. He was an undercover drug force task member there in Anchorage. And if that's not enough, a week later, 2 troopers showed back up to the jail, and they charged me with, they found an ounce of pot. So they got me with that too. This stuff just kept piling up. Surprisingly, I was only getting 6 flat years for this. I did my time. I served, while serving up at PCC, I was, I met an inmate, Leo Hoffman, who's a big old biker dude. I was telling my story, and he said, I was like, man, you got it rough. He said, you invited me up to the chapel, and he said, come listen to my testimony. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so I was walking away, he goes, just remember this, when you think you got it bad, somebody else has it worse. Later on, I was convicted to go to the chapel. I went up there, and he gave his testimony, and it was a good one. I'm sure Mike was there. And that's when I found out that he, at the end of his testimony, I couldn't believe everything he did. And this was a man of Christ now. And he was sentenced, he had 207 years to dwell. Yeah. So when you think you got it bad, somebody else has it worse. A few weeks later, with the Grace Chapel in Palmer, I surrendered. I became a Christian. I couldn't do it without it. I joined the TLC program. There were several people in here that have done that too. And graduated. Let's see, I don't want to mention names, but I'm sure everybody knows. So anyhow, I graduated that. I leaned on my support group, God, everything. The next day after I graduated, I was, let me back up here. At the end of my testimony there at Palmer, I told everybody I had vowed to be a productive member of society. The next day I was released on ankle monitor, but I didn't have a place to go, so I got a room at the Horizon Home. After a couple months, I got my own place. I met Adrienne. 6 months later, she moved in with me. I had gotten a big insurance settlement from that accident up in Nome. Very, very nice one. It was a very decent check, so I told myself, don't screw this one up. I paid off a bunch of stuff and I opened up a business. I opened up a restaurant. Poured everything into it. That wing place.
Yes.
I continued doing treat, aftercare, what have you, but my life got pretty busy real quick. I had 1 restaurant, then I had 2 restaurants, and I had a food truck. I didn't have a whole lot of time for anything, so I started isolating. I was just working. My people would call me up, and I was too busy. And I quit relying on God and my friends. My health went sideways. They didn't know what was wrong with me, and they found out I had Hep C, the bad kind, and so I got that taken care of. And then I kept getting sick, and I couldn't figure out what was going on until they scoped my stomach, and I had, from that accident, that hernia mesh had come loose and had been floating around, and they're getting infected, and you can't digest that. So they went down there and they refixed that thing, and it was quite painful the second time around. And then my gallbladder started going out on me. And I went to the ER, and they were like, oh, we're going to take this thing out in the morning. COVID hit. Right then, I was going to have it that next morning. I spent 3 days in the hospital, and they sent me home because I wasn't sick enough. They weren't doing any kind of surgeries, anything. So for a good 7 months, I was quite ill. I wasn't going to work. I felt like I had the flu all the time. It was destroying everything around me, man. So anyhow, somebody told me to head on out to the valley and, see what they see out here. I came out here to Wasilla. I just had the gallbladder out the next morning. I couldn't believe it. It felt great. Yeah, they fixed me up pretty good. When I started taking painkillers and I didn't have any, I figured I got this, you know, and, I didn't have it. I just, progressed. I was spending the doctors wouldn't give me anything because of my history, to take home. So I, kind of blew up on the doctors. I said, you can't get it for me. I know I can get it. And I just had that mindset and I went out and got it. And I wasn't buying 5 or 10 pills. I was buying 100 pills at a time. So I quickly went back into that frame of mind. My wife couldn't take it. Yeah. Then, as it was all going along, I was struck with a brain aneurysm. I spent 3 days just hallucinating really, really bad. The conspiracy was wrong with me. Everybody thought I was messed up on drugs. I really, really wasn't. Yeah, I spent 11 days in ICU. It was, I was seeing things, I was hearing things. My wife had to leave. My father and mother-in-law lived at the house with us, and they couldn't stay there anymore. They all moved out. I was in the hospital every room. They all moved out of the house. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't call anyone. I just wanted to die. So anyhow, I had this one restaurant. I owed $360,000 on it. Good buddy of mine, he wanted the place. The people that were financing me, they're quite wealthy. He took over the loan. They loaned him $400,000, and he took over the restaurant. No, I didn't have a wife, didn't have a business, didn't have a job. When they took my gallbladder out, the doctor said I had beginning stages of liver disease. So I had all that going on. I didn't care. At that point, I was drinking 2 7.5s a day. I just drank all 24 hours a day. I just stayed drunk. And I did that on April to August 5th. I broke my collarbone. And I ended up going to the hospital. They pulled blood on me. I was a .38. Yeah. It was time for me to get clean. But I went to the house and I quit cold turkey, that was the stupidest thing I'd ever done. 4 days of hallucinations. I could have died. But anyhow, I started drinking again after that. On August 13th, I was involved in a dispute, and I was wrong. And anyhow, I'm not going to get into too deep because we're running out of time on this. But I ended up going to jail once again for assault of 4th degree. I was beat with a pistol, and then I took my baseball bat and went and did some destruction. And I'm glad that I didn't get a hold of the person because I was going to kill him. So it's been haunting me ever since that happened, but I'm getting over it. I was about ready to lose everything. I was relying on myself. I was in trouble. I didn't know what to do. I got on the phone while I was in jail, called Mike. Reached out to him. Reached out to Matt. Within 2 weeks, I was in treatment, outpatient. I just wanted to be around people that were normal.
Yes.
So I cut myself off from everybody, all the bad boys I used to hang out with, biker buddies. That's who I got along with, you know, so that's what I was elevated to. But anyhow, I found a new family. Now I got 18 months clean.
Yay.
I'm giving everything over to God. I couldn't have done this on my own. Solar Recovery is, I'm on the leadership team, and it's been fantastic.
Yes.
I couldn't do this without you guys.
Amen.
I don't wanna take up too much more time, I've burned quite a bit here, so, I just wanna thank Mike and my support group, and you can't do this on your own.
Amen.
It absolutely can't be done on your own. The only way you can do it is you need an accountability partner, you need a support team,
Yes.
you need a sponsor, get a sponsor, and stick to it. Stick to it. It's worth it.
Yes, amen.
That's what I got.
Amen. Come here. Hey, buddy. How hard this is.
Yeah.
This is not easy, guys.